This podcast is brought to you by Independent Building Advice. IBA acknowledges traditional owners of the land and waters this podcast is recorded on. If you find this episode helpful, follow us for more so we can continue putting out free value for all homeowners in Australia. It really goes a long way. Enjoy the episode.
Today we've got Andy, one of our very own on the podcast. He's actually one of our architectural designers. He actually works with our clients. We actually call them client advocates, but he's years and years of designing houses. He's exceptional. I certainly learned a lot from you myself. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So give us a bit of your background, what you do, where you got to, how you got into design, what you've been doing all this time.
Sure. Well, I've been in the industry for over 20 years, but I started on site with my brothers, which was a great sort of starting point for me. We obviously got to get on the tools a bit and got a lot of on-site practice with my brothers, which did definitely help the process when I got into drafting. So my first
from the ground up, really, I guess.
Exactly, yeah. So when I got into drafting, having that visual in my head of what I was actually able to draw definitely helped expand my knowledge a lot quicker. So I was lucky enough to have that background, and then from there I've just moved through a couple of different companies over the years and just learning from really amazing designers and other draftees and everyone else in the process. So, learning a little bit from everyone along the way.
Well, you've been a designer for some pretty high-end sort of homes for quite some time there, which is great. And more of the custom sort of design sort of areas as well. Yep. Your point, though, I think is great, though, that when you've actually seen things being built on site, as a drafter, you often see, like, that line they draw, that could be an $80,000 line,
It sure
and
can.
it's very easy to think, let's do that. And you go, that's expensive, or can it physically be done?
Yeah.
Do you find that often that, like, being able to see what's being built and then also what you've drawn, you go, okay, I know how this is going to turn out and how it's going to look?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. It's the biggest thing I find is that when people look at what they want to do, they don't understand the engineering behind it. So everything can be done. Like, as long as you're prepared to spend the money to do it.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of that stuff happens in behind where you don't see it. And it's very hard to justify those prices to a client sometimes. And
a tweak can save you tens of thousands of dollars if you just 100%. Put that on top of this or whichever.
Yeah, just make it more a conventional build. The easier it is for a builder to produce it, the easier the less it's going to cost.
Magic. Well, because you are a very good designer, and I don't say that lightly because you are a very good designer. Let's talk about some of the design things that you've seen people do that you think. Let's start with kitchens, and then we can talk about other parts of the home. What are some things that you think really work well in design that people should keep in mind that really just makes the house pop?
Sure. Well, starting point is positioning of the rooms. I love solar passive design in everything I do.
Solar passive, yeah.
Yeah, so very much trying to capture as much natural light as possible, especially through the winter months. You want to get as much natural light in, make the house feel nice, warm, cozy. And the main heart of the home, the kitchen, dining, living spaces are where you're going to spend the bulk of your time entertaining with family and friends. You want that to be as comfortable as possible. Yeah,
I agree. I always reckon that kitchen meals, family, or fresco is where you want to focus because, people say the kitchen is the most important, but I actually reckon that whole living area. And if you're spending time there, you want to have that, like that colourblind ad moment where you look back at the house, you want to have that in your living room.
Inside.
Life's good, it's great.
100%.
So the kitchen meals, family, al fresco is a focal point for you. And so with that in mind, what sort of layout do you gravitate towards a particular type of layout with that works or doesn't work?
Look, obviously every property is different, so every client's needs are different. So we are obviously constantly bouncing between different variations to that. I always love the open plan living setup, so you can be in the kitchen at the island bench and you can oversee the dining table where you might have people still sitting down and eating and all that, but you can still have that communication with them.
Yeah.
You can see through into the living space where people might be watching TV, or you might be preparing dinner and watching TV and beyond. So it's a nice sort of layout to that when you got the three areas staggered, but also like that connection through to the outdoor, through the kitchen.
Yeah.
So kitchen to al fresco, the barbecue area. I like that connection through those spaces, and then dining to the outdoor dining or outdoor living space.
I couldn't agree more. Like, we're in Australia. I think outdoor living is like just part of our lives. Like, you got this, have barbecue. I mean, I don't think I've ever been to a house where someone doesn't have a barbecue or doesn't at least have a barbecue on the list to buy. Like we're out of living. So the layout that I like the least, and everyone's different, so each to your own, is the kitchen, meals, family, al fresco in a row. Yeah. So the kitchen's 8 meters away from the outdoor area. I like when the outdoor and indoor sort of tie in together, and you can have indoor, outdoor. And like you said, where you're in the kitchen, people in the meals area, you can chat to them while they're in the meals, while you're making a salad or you're not cut out of conversation. I like it where nice and open and together. Is that sort of how you agree with that, or you disagree with that? Or
100%. I think that disconnect between the kitchen to the al fresco, especially when you're entertaining and you're preparing the food in the kitchen, but then you're cooking it outside. It's just you got to move through multiple areas to get to that al fresco. Yeah. Versus if you have it directly across or an easy direct access, it's I definitely prefer those sort of configurations. Yeah,
imagine, absolutely. So. Kitchen layouts. Is there a kitchen layout that you prefer? Do you prefer the island bench, galley? What do you reckon is a good way to go?
Oh, see, I'm a bit of a clean freak at home, so I like the idea.
You strike me as a clean freak. Yeah,
that's pretty obvious. But I really like the island bench being just a clear surface. I like the big prep open area. I've got like the coffee machine, toaster, and all that stuff. Kettle and all that. I don't particularly like seeing it up on the bench. I actually would love to, in my home, if I could change one thing, it would be to have an appliance nook that's there, available right part of the kitchen, but it's just screened off from the general area. So
it's like a door, a concertina door, so you can open and close.
Not even that. Even like a little sort of making your way to like the passage. Not passage, but like a pantry.
Yeah.
Or scullery. Yeah. But having the appliance nook just tucked around the corner, so if you've got guests or whatever, they can't see it.
Yeah.
But when you're in the space, it's sort of still accessible.
Yeah, I think that's a big one, that you can hide it away, but you don't want to be in like a pantry. Yeah. I'll be back in a minute. You want to be able to get to it, but also, I like that. Are you a fan of sculleries?
Not for the sake of having it as a service area, like having sink and all that, because I couldn't think of anything worse. Being in a pantry, obviously, even if it was a big room, it's still, you're going into a separate area to go and wash the dishes. Whereas I don't know how it is for you at home or when you've got guests and that coming over, but friends, family come over and prepare dinner, we're generally cleaning up together and we're still chatting away and still communicating.
I'm with you 100%. Like I also think that if you have your main sink in the scullery and your dishwasher's in the scullery, and you pack the dishwasher, then when you unpack it, you've got to walk all the way to the other part of the home. So I agree with that, although I am all for having a butler at home. So if you have a butler, then it's not a problem really, right?
Oh, that's a lot of dream.
They're done. But it might not be in the budget. But no, look, I agree with this guy. But I do like the idea of hiding away the Thermomix or the neutral or whatever, like, in another room. Yeah. Especially when you grind, like my kids, whenever I'm on the phone, hey, let's grind ice right now. And so I like that hidden away. But I'm not sure. But I'd have a minor sink personally in the scullery and major sink in the kitchen. But what do you reckon?
The only other thing I'd probably add to what I'd need in the kitchen for myself, I would love, as part of the island, because that's the prep area, is obviously you need the power points on the ends. But having a storage area at the island for your like slow cookers, your blenders, food processors, whatever, everything there. So you just have to lift it up onto the bench, plug in, and you're good to go. And then it's right there in your prep area.
And you have that on the island?
I'd have that in the island.
Yeah, cool.
So that way you're not having to cart it from another area over to the island, especially like some of the stuff becomes pretty heavy.
I've never thought about having a slow cooker on the island, and I actually like that because you're prepping it.
It's stored in there, but just to be able to, like most of the, like my mum's, getting on in age at these days, but she's got a lot of really heavy mixers, and she's storing it down low in a cupboard and then having to move it from one space out to where she actually uses it. It's difficult. So unfortunately that's her situation, but thinking ahead like that, you'd want to have it in the shortest route possible, have it under bench, just bring it above and then plug it in.
Well, I think any age having a drawer or something that's helpful. But speaking of that, so I think with the kitchen, the drawer combinations to me is I like 3 drawers, one narrow up top and then 2 equal size below it. But if you're going to have that, I do feel you should have, for that very reason, 2 drawers, bigger and deeper for the slow cookers, the big pot that you get, the fondue set that you haven't used since you got for your wedding, but you can't throw it out. Where you got the taller stuff, because if you all have all narrow drawers, and, if you have the cupboards, you still got to reach into it. So that drawer in the island, to your point, pull the slow cooker out, Plug it in, yeah.
Yep.
And the plugs on the side is a good move too, I think. I think a lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah, whether it's for the appliances themselves or when kids are working and they need to plug in their laptop or whatever at the island bench while you're preparing dinner, that's always handy.
So staying on the kitchen thing for a bit, let's talk about island benches, all right? Because a lot of contention out there. First of all, let's talk about layout. So sizes, 1,200 bench, 900 bench, 600 bench, what's your thoughts? And then what's your thoughts with the breakfast bar sort of idea?
Sure. Obviously, the bigger the bench, the better. I like a big island bench. I feel like a metre is too shallow. I like going to 1,100 at least.
Yep.
1,200 is pretty much utilising the most of the slab that you're going to get anyway. So
I think this table's 1,100 actually. So yeah.
So that's comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as far as breakfast bar goes, the conventional setup is one straight line, an overhang on the front side.
Yep.
I don't really like that. I actually like a more communal space where the overhang is sort of wrapped around one end, because typically when everyone's entertaining, you congregate around one end, you've got the platters around, and everyone can actually be like we are here and actually be facing each other and chatting and sharing the meal in front in a more like non-formal dinner or arrangement. Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. And why is that? So that you just...
Because that way you can actually see the person.
Yeah, okay.
So if you're in a straight line, it's very hard to communicate with the person to the side when you're staggering through 3 or 4 people.
Yeah, I like that option. Because a lot of people actually, I've seen a lot of, and we've done a few of them where they've actually got no cupboards underneath. You can have the bench on both sides, so you actually pull right in.
Yeah.
How do you feel about those?
The overhang from both sides, yeah. I like that.
So because my issue with that is that I'm not a big fan of them, although if people want them, I'm happy to do them. Purely because you have a stool there and you can push it under, but you're missing decent cupboard space. So unless you have a really long island, it works. But also, if I was using the kitchen and someone's sitting there, that's going to be really annoying trying to get around a stool. So I prefer what you were saying around the end of the island and also across. But
yeah, you'd need a decent sized kitchen to achieve that, like full wraparound.
Yeah.
But most ones you can still do at least the L shape at the end.
I like that idea, yeah.
But the offset is what you lose in your cupboard space. I usually allocate that to the front end of the cabinet. So you remove the overhang to the area that you're not using. So you actually have concealed cupboards facing onto the dining space.
Gotcha. So it looks,
So you don't lose cupboard storage. You just reallocate that space.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I like that. And why with the 1,200? Do you like the cupboards on the other side as well? Is that why you like the 1,100?
I'd know it's more about the stone. Typically, an island, you want a nice feature top, and the more of it, the better. Yeah,
so have that feature top on the island, and because I like that, but also maybe a neutral back bench
100%.
to make that the hero. Yeah, because if you do too much, I think of that and the splashback. And
that's it. If the island, if you do a nice stone, that's the feature, that's the focus, that's what you want. And everything else should be muted in the background so you don't actually notice it as much.
Yeah, because you have too much going on.
It complements it, doesn't take away from the feature, and it's just,
Magic.
So, a friend of mine, they've done the leathered finish on the stone.
Leather look finish, not leather.
Well, yes, there's a stone with a leathered finish, and you can't help but sit there and you're just like this, like rubbing your hand on the table. It's great.
Amazing. And there's so many options you can do out there. Yeah. Sink in the island?
Not a fan.
Okay.
Like if you need to, you can. Obviously, you do it, but I still offset it. I don't like it central. There are a lot of people that like everything to be balanced. They want centered, like equal proportions of everything. It's like I'd rather put the sink off one side and just keep as much as of the island free.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. If you have a long bench, then maybe to one side, that's fine.
And maybe just a single bowl if you're going to do one on the island.
Yeah, okay.
That way it could be more as a prep,
quick rinse or something like that. Yeah. I mean, I know people like to do dishes while they're watching TV, and that might be everyone's different. I mean, this is just preferences. But also, if you imagine this microphone that's in front of us is like the tap, then I've got a physical barrier in front of me to actually do that. And sure enough, if I'm washing a bowl and it's here and it sprays everywhere, it's going to wet everyone in front of them as well as myself. I do that a fair bit, by the way. But the point is though that I prefer that fresh. Maybe look out a window behind you or something like that and use that bench as a but I think to one side, in the middle, you're really carving up space either side and you're not really having that chance for people to sit in front of you, which I think works well. The kitchen layouts are good. Are you overhead cupboards guy or shelves or?
Again, if you've got enough cupboard storage, I think the overhead cupboards become wasted.
Yeah.
And I actually rather shelves just to break it up. If not shelves, get rid of the overhead cupboards, have a feature sort of around the range hood.
Yeah.
So concealed range hood, and just do like a box out around that. So that's the focus, and then just eliminate that heaviness of having, the whole recess of over a whole plate area with overhead cupboards.
Yeah, because I agree with you that with pot drawers becoming so prominent, and they're roughly $700 something for 3 pot drawers. Why have overhead cupboards? They carry so much in the pot drawers. Why have the overhead cupboards as well? And I reckon most modern houses, you got a big enough kitchen, they're empty.
Yeah.
Like what are you going to put in there? And they cost about $1,000 a linear metre.
Yep.
Save the money and spend on something else. Have a bigger window, or have some open shelving, or I don't know, feature. But
and typically, if you check everyone's overhead cupboards, the stuff that's right at the top is stuff they never actually use.
Yeah,
it's just dumped up there because
you got it for your wedding, and you don't want to throw it out.
To be able to reach up, because it's overhead for starters, but it's actually set back, so you need to get a stool or something to get access to it. It's just not practical.
Absolutely, there's got to be better ways.
Yeah.
Okay, well, speaking of storage, I guess, transition here. Storage ideas. Obviously, no one ever in the history of time has ever said this house has got too much storage.
None yet.
What are some storage tips that you got for people?
Storage, obviously, every home, every person's going to need it. Their needs are going to be different, though, because for someone that's more outdoors, like myself, I found that pretty quickly. I started from a very minimalist sort of stage, had to clear everything, and then very quickly saw how much storage I was lacking. So with someone that's very outdoorsy, they're going to have a lot more interests that need storage. So whether it's bikes, camping gear, fishing gear, boating, like equipment, whatever. Sports, just
bikes,
everything, and it's just it all takes up space. And for me, obviously, you're going to have enough storage needs for inside the house. For someone that's outdoors, they need storage available that needs to be accessible through the garage or adjacent to the garage, because the last thing you want is to have to coming home from a camping trip and have to cart it through the home to a storage cupboard down the back somewhere. So obviously the most practical for all those outdoor activities is around that garage sort of zone.
Add a metre to the back of the garage. Yeah, it's quite cost effective too to just add that metre. And then you put all the random stuff that you need. I think also a big one there, which people don't really think about, is the attic space upstairs you can do. To do that, it's actually not that expensive. You can do the full blown attic space, where it's dust proof. The whole thing, it costs quite a bit of money, but you actually just get a bigger manhole, put a ladder you pull down, and then reinforce your joists and put some MDF down, and it's good to go.
That's it.
And if you plan it while you're building, it's not that expensive.
And that's it. A bit of forward planning definitely helps.
Absolutely.
Sort of stuff,
Well, you probably wouldn't put like heavy machinery up there, but you'd put like suitcases and Christmas tree and that kind of thing.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. What are other storage in the home, like linen cupboards, mudrooms, that sort of stuff? Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, look, linen cupboards, I think that ideally you want to have one local to the master bedroom, and then one local to the secondary bedrooms, because unless you've got one large sort of passageway and you can just do one monster linen through there, then great. But I think that adjacent to the spaces where you're going to need the linen for is ideal. So one off the laundry, and then you'd probably think one off the minor bedrooms or something, so you don't have to cater all the way through the home. It's got to remember what one you put in what cupboard. I'm a big believer in like drop zones. Personally, I don't. Drop zones great.
But I think the key to a drop zone, it has to be on your path to either the kitchen or to the bedroom. So, having my kids, if it's not in a direct, like walking, and they have to go back or they have to double back, it's not going to happen. You're going to walk past it, drop your stuff, and keep going. But it's a good way to have a mud room or something like that where you can take your boots off and things like that.
Yeah, that's it. Drop zone and mud room directly coming in off the garage, especially when you're coming home, all the shopping and that, and you pop open the door and you got your hands full, just somewhere you can quickly just go drop. Do whatever you need to do.
Put it on charger.
That's it.
And then obviously through the home, you got to have the kids' storage, things like that, where they got to have it. I think a really cool one is where people have like a bench, like under a bay window or near a fireplace. You can pop it up. They're the things you want to think about, where you can just tuck storage away, or just have a secret door somewhere that there's storage everywhere. Like, because you don't really know how much storage you need until you need the storage space.
That's it.
And
build it in wherever you can, because soon enough you'll get to it.
100%. But if you do a bit of an audit before you go, if you're really brave, go to your partner and say, okay, well, we've got to do an audit of what we've got. We've got to throw things out. And what you do is you throw each other's stuff out if you think it's not worthwhile. Now, if you're really brave, you just throw it out. You don't tell them, they find out later.
That sounds dangerous.
Divorces may happen. Or you go the other way and you go, this is what I think we should throw out. And then you keep a different piles and you can go through it all. But to me, I think it's a great way because I think people, if you have lots of storage, people just keep more stuff. And then again, no one's ever said to me, we've got too much storage, we need to cut back in the next house. They just grow to that size. They just don't throw things out. So I think you've got to find that balance.
Yep.
I think when you're moving house for this process, now's a better time than ever.
That's it.
And
Audit.
Yeah.
That's it.
And you start early while you can later. That's great. So what other tips do you have with layouts and that with the home that you think works well for the Australian lifestyle or most of your clients and inclusions they should have with the home?
Look, I think a lot of the clients that I've been dealing with lately have got teenagers in the home, and obviously they're coming to us to help expand their home or design the next one. So the big one is separate living spaces. So especially for a larger, older growing family, because as the kids start to grow up, they want to have their own space. They got their family, their friends coming over, and they don't really want to be around mum and dad, and they want to be cool and be in their own space. So having a secondary living space that can be sort of in the kids' area, off their wing, rather than part of the main space, and with some separation would be,
I think that is absolutely huge. And I find that people with younger kids don't need that extra room. I know we had one at our last house when our kids were just toddlers and a bit older than toddlers. And they we went, why do we have that lounge room at the front? We've never used it. And then we moved, and the new house we went, man, I wish we had that lounge room at the front. And then where our house is now, it's great because when you get to that teenager area, two things happen. One, they bring their mates over, and then the parents pick them up, and you're having a chat to the parents, do you want a coffee or a drink or something? And they go, yeah, absolutely. And they stay for 3 hours. And the kids are running amok, and then you might be in that front lounge room. But I think that second living area, or the phone rings, it's an important phone call, you got to take it. You need that other room to get to, if it's in your budget. And if it's not in your budget and you want a 4-bedroom home, I think you should look at, and you only got 2 kids, for example, I think you should look at that lounge room as a versatile room that could be a bedroom for you or a lounge room. I think those options work well. But I think, if you cater for the kids, if they're not teenagers, one day they're going to be in that house and you're going to want it. But I'm finding it a lot of, like you're saying, like older teenagers, the parents are going, wait, our kids can't afford a home.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to live here longer. We've got to expand again so that they can have their girlfriends, boyfriends, or whatever living with them.
Yep.
You're finding a lot of that lately?
Yeah, the granny flats are becoming a thing. Trying to squeeze that extra property out the back, something that's separate, but they can fully be self-contained, but still be on the main property.
Yeah. Well, if it's actually part of the main home, it's happening a lot as well. Because even for aging parents and so forth as well. So and it's another income source if you actually rent it out. So that works off that. High ceilings, raking ceilings, skillions. What do you think? What are your preferences with that? So just on that for people at home, raking ceilings like when it meets in the middle like that. Skillion roof is when it's on one angle going through that. High ceilings are just high ceilings. You need coffered ceilings with a recess, whichever. There's options out there. What's your favourite?
I love rake ceiling.
Big rake,
Rake ceiling, skylights. But having even the rafters where it's not like flushed out, so you can actually see the beams coming up, and then it's still lined in that, but as you're just seeing the structure of that rake. I like that. That's definitely, if I had my choice.
And do you like the timber lining as well, or do you like it white or a ceiling?
I still like it white. I think it's very hard to tie in different styles when you're trying to keep to that timber, like everything visible. I think if it's just white, you can go with any style underneath.
It's like, it just definitely makes it amazing. I think it's got to go with depending where your solar orientation is and how that works. We've done houses with the rake, and then we've done where the brickwork and the doors meet. We've done the flat sort of ceiling between the two. We've had some with the rake coming through, but the skylight really makes that go crazy because we mentioned on a previous podcast, but the expensive thing about a skylight is not necessarily the skylight, but it's actually getting the boxing it out between the roof and the ceiling. So if you actually have a rake, you've got very little to box out. It's actually a lot cheaper to do it and just takes that home to the next level. It's pretty exciting. What are, like with rakes, like they can be pretty pricey. What do people have to think about with the raking ceilings? Just sizes and lengths?
obviously, if you got a rake going through over the kitchen, dining, living, the wider that space is, the larger the beams are to be able to form that area. So the cost will go up. And
Yep.
some people they're basing it off what they have. So they're like, I've got an area that's only 4.5 meters wide. I need it to be 7 meters. It's always so far, so far more, but so much wider. But the problem is that the wider you go, the bigger the beam sizes, the higher the cost.
Yep.
To achieve that. I would also say as well, because you're gaining all that extra volume through a rake ceiling, it actually will make the space feel a lot bigger. So you don't have to go to that extent of having just monstrous spaces. You can still keep it to comfortable, cozy spaces that are going to be cost effective, but realise that with all that gain in that ceiling space over, it's going to make it feel a lot larger
very
than what
spacious,
you're used to.
But you have to keep in mind heating and cooling because you have a lot more volume there as well
Yep.
for that space. But if you can get the solar rotation right, like you're talking about, that the sun's going to come through nice and warm, and I mean that's a big part of the design. But I also think that with those, one thing to keep in mind with raking ceilings and that, if you're going to have really high ceilings, adjust your internal doors or even your external doors and windows to raise it up to maybe 28 courses, which is 2.6 metres or something like that.
2.4.
Or 2.4, sorry. 2.6 is 31. So 2.4 metres high, so that they get that extra light through, because most doors are 25 courses.
Yeah.
I think they're things to think about, which a good designer will pick up, but that's good to look at. But yeah, I mean, those rakes you walk in and go, wow, this looks amazing.
What about you? Which way would you go?
Really, I mean, this is a terrible answer. Thank you for that. It depends on the home. So I love a good skillion with the windows above it, but only if that's on my northern side to get that light through. So I love that skillion look. You and I just designed a home just recently in Adidar, which we both loved, and it had that sort of, although it's a rake, it's almost like a skillion. I call it the Brady Bunch sort of house. The clients haven't told the clients that, but just the way it goes through. If you look up the Brady Bunch house, by the way, wicked house from the 60s. My wife and I
coming back.
go, mate,
Stol's coming back.
let's build that one. That would be awesome. But yeah, so that was, that home with the ceiling going all the way through at the roof, you designed that all the way through, just looked amazing. I like that sort of skillion over a long distance, getting that light through. But depends, like I said, depends which way the block's orientated. So if I'm, let's say, the north at the back, I want the rake facing where my backyard is.
Yep.
So that really depends on the layout. But I like good skillion, good rake. But in my last home, we had a sloping block, and what I love is when the block, so the street was a high bit and then the back of the block was a low bit. So what we did is we maintained the ceiling height and we just dropped the floor.
Yeah.
And it was that fantastic deep, it was 38, 39 courses in the main living area. It had huge ceiling height. I don't know how big that is, 3.4 metres something, but it was, you can do the maths later. But it was really high, and what it was, it had that wow factor because we designed the home to suit the block. And if you don't have the budget for a big raking ceiling, there's a lot of engineering that goes into that, or a skillion, just really high ceilings on a flat roof. It's minimalist and it looks amazing. And I often recommend to people, why spend all the money on the rake and the skillion when you can just have super high ceilings? For a fraction of the cost, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you just want to raise your windows and doors accordingly, and it can look amazing. And you don't have to have it. So I'm easy depending on what works best for the home design.
I do.
And it's such a boring answer. So
No, I see. I love the high ceilings. Some people think high ceilings need to be everywhere through the home.
Yeah.
I don't like high ceilings in some of the smaller spaces.
Yeah.
I actually like the coziness.
You feel like you're in a tower or something, doesn't it?
For instance, if you're going, if you have a theatre, I like that ceiling low, and just even for sound, I think that it performed better than a big high void.
Yeah, more cozy. Yeah. Also, I find though, I've been through homes before where they've got high ceilings. I haven't noticed because I like the contrast that you go lower and then up, and then it's got that. You can do it with bulkheads, but you can. Like you might go from a 31, so 2.6, and then up to a 3. It makes a big difference. And that's, I think that contrast gives it that feel, this is high ceilings. Yeah. It's more obvious than they're not. Yeah. But that's really a key of good design where you do it. But you're right, if you're in a little study and it's 2x2 and you got these really high ceilings, it's going to feel weird and strange for that look. Yeah. But I do think the skylight to me just makes a house really go nuts. Like I go through houses all day long, as you do. Every time I see a decent big V-light skylight, I go, wow, this home's amazing. So again, you might have you might have 2.6 metre high, ceilings, and that's throughout your home. And I want something to make it different a good Velux in the home it can really change the feel of it, which I think works really well. That's amazing. Mate, look, thank you for coming on the podcast. Like, you've been great. Like, you are a fantastic designer. 20 years in the industry is a long time. You've designed some pretty high-end homes, but you also designed some pretty modest homes for people, depending on their budget. What makes you passionate about design today?
To be honest, I just love the problem solving and being able to help clients.
Yeah.
That first meeting when the clients don't know you from the next person, but you're developing a relationship with them, and then when you finally hit that moment of where the trust is there, and that's where you feel like you've solved their problem for them, and they know that you're doing right by them. That connection at that moment, that's what brings me joy in what I do.
Mate, that's why you're so good at what you do, for the very reason you answered that. Now, I didn't tell you about this, but hopefully you listen to our podcast because it's our show. But we ask everyone the same question. You're about to build or renovate your own home, extend it. You get a check in the mail from a long-distance relationship from a relative that you didn't know was there. And they get to say, oh, here, you got to spend this $10,000. You got to spend it on your home, or you're not going to get any money at all. What would you spend that 10 grand on if it was your own home?
Oh, we've already gone over it. Skylights.
Skylights,
away. That's a given.
That was my answer. You can't say the same thing as me. You're cheating. No, it's a great answer. They just look amazing and they pop and they're great. Yep. Although you got to have blinds on them, because you definitely want to be able to close those things in summer. But
absolutely,
and they cost like $800 to get them done. But
worth it.
But they just they're so good. No, great answer, mate, and great minds think alike. Cool. That's fantastic. So look, if people are interested and want to talk to Andy, and again, he's one of our really good architectural designers in house, and you stay with the clients all the way through the process,
right up to the end.
And what's really cool about you and our team is that you guide people on price. You have really got to see what things cost, and also the actual design layout and finding the right builder, so that you're not just designing and blowing people's budget, you're designing and actually coming in on budget, or as close to budget as you can.
That's it.
And trying to control clients to, we want this, but you're for this. But it really is, it's really good, mate. And you have a really good nature about you, where people feel comfortable, and they learn very quickly that you're trying to do the right thing by them and try and get them the best possible home money can buy. Yeah. Thanks for coming on the podcast, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.